What is going on, faithful? It is your boy Niner Sickness with the Niner Sickness podcast. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there that are tuning in. Happy Father's Day. I like to title this Happy Father's Day 49ers edition with our special guest that we have today. I'm looking forward on talking with him, talking to the 49ers in this beautiful Sunday afternoon. But like you all know, before we get started, do me a favor. Please wipe your feet before entering and smash that like button for your boy, Niner Sickness. How is everyone doing tonight? I hope everyone is having a good time. Welcome to the channel. I appreciate each and every one of you. Welcome in. Johnny, how you doing, Johnny? Welcome. And I apologize for starting a little bit late. There was a little bit of technical difficulties. It happens. The software that I use is not a very familiar software to a lot of my guests. So getting adjusted to it, sometimes it takes a few minutes. So my apologies for that. But with no further ado, let me go ahead and bring in my guest. I know you guys did not come to hear me. Nobody wants to listen to me. Everyone wants to listen to my guest. So with no further ado, allow me to bring in my guest, our special guest on Father's Day, my brother from another mother. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing fantastic, Beto. Thank you so much for the invite, bro. This is my first time on Niner Sickness, so I'm excited, bro. Your setup is amazing, man. I want to be in that room, bro. Like, that is the ultimate 49er room, everything that's behind you. I don't know if it's just a background or if that's actually how your room looks. I'll keep it secretive, though. To me,
No,
that's sick.
it's my background.
Oh, that's awesome, bro. Like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
is
I'm not a
really
big screen.
sick, bro.
I'm not a big green screen guy. I was trying it for. I tried it out for a few weeks, and it's okay. And I have the camera and the lighting set up well, where you can't even tell that I'm using green screen. But I rather have the stuff behind me, and then I have multiple cameras, so
Yeah.
I can switch off. So sometimes with green screen, it's hard to do. With multiple, I got a couple of
Yeah, man.
Sony's.
Very professional, bro. I gotta learn some tips from you.
Oh man, now you're making my head get big. Let me say hi to Johnny real quick. Johnny, how you doing? We have No Border Sports. My brother, how you doing, sir? Welcome to the show. And I understand that today is Sunday and it is Father's Day, and a lot of the viewers normally are probably out with their parent or their dad and celebrating with family. So if we don't get a big turnout, I understand completely. For those that are tuning in, welcome. We appreciate you. My dad passed away in 2013, so and my kids are all grown up and want nothing to do with me. So they're doing their own thing. We got together earlier, but I have the evening, and then I was talking to my guest, and he's like Suneil, and he's like, "I'm open today." I'm like, "Hey, let's do it." So I appreciate you being on here, brother. So before we get started, as people are now starting to come in, how can people get a hold of you, get a hold of your channel? Go ahead and give everyone your information. How can they support you going forward, brother?
Yeah, well, once again, like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. Yeah, so my Twitter handle is and my everything handle is at so real Suneil. So that's SOREALSUNEIL. There you'll find the link to my YouTube channel, which is So Real Sports Talk TV. And everything else is there. I would love for you guys, based off of if you like me through this interview, go there, subscribe, take a look at some of the videos and the streams there, and hopefully, Beto, I can return the favor, man, and have you on my show sometime coming up in these next few weeks.
I would love that. Thank you. That'll be an honor, bro. I know a lot of content creators, and every content creator has a little bit of their own flavor on how they like to do their shows, and I love that. I'm the type of person that I love to promote other content creators. I love people to grow. I'm not I'm not a huge guy in a sense where if I have a lot of followers or I don't, it really doesn't matter. This is therapy for me. I love
That's
coming on here. My wife, I leave her alone. She loves that I'm in my office because I'm leaving her
awesome.
alone. So it's therapy for both of us. And like I tell all my guests, and all my guests know, I'm not the type of guy that brings like breaking news or who's coming in, who's leaving. We're more like you kick back lounge where you kind of kick back, put your feet up, get your
Barbershop, brother.
yeah,
We at the
barbershop, yeah,
barbershop.
barbershop. I like that one better. Barbershop, put get ready, get a haircut, and just chop it up. That's what we do here. So
I love
everybody
it.
that's usually here are returning guests that are always a part. So looking forward to them getting to know you and getting to go to your channel as well. So let me ask you to start things off. How long have you been a Niner fan, and who introduced you to the Niners?
So yeah, I was raised right. So I was a Niner fan from birth. No, I come from a traditional Indian family. So actually, my parents were both from India. They don't know anything about football really. So I got into football. Uh, I guess the first player that I really remember is Steve Young, and he was just amazing with his ability to run as well as pass. I was able to watch him throw 6 touchdowns against the Chargers
Mm.
when winning the Super Bowl, and I've been a 49er fan ever since then. So actually previous to that, but then the Super Bowl obviously was pretty exciting. So I've always just been a 49er fan. Steve Young's my favorite player for the 49ers. As far as like getting into it, as far as the community and all that kind of stuff, it's been pretty recent, Beto. I've only been around for maybe a year doing this content creation thing and following the 49ers as in depth as I do right now. So, but as far as a fan, they've been my team, since I can remember. They're the only team that I've really cheered for throughout my years.
Yeah, well, that's the best team to definitely. If you're going to cheer for a team, might as well be the red and gold. I've been a Niner fan for a very, very long time since 1976,
Oh
and
wow.
I started following the Niners before Joe Montana, before Bill Walsh. Bill Walsh took over, so I got a taste of a lot of bad 49er football back in the day, and then we went through a good stretch, and then we went through all these coaches, carousel of coaches. They were terrible. The Chip Callies and all these bad coaches, right? After
Tom
Harbaugh,
Sula.
Tansula, and there's one that I forgot his name, but he used to have white hair, all white hair, but terrible. Good college coach, just a bad NFL coach, and I can't think of his name. I think Dennis Eckerson.
Erickson.
Erison, yeah, that.
Dennis
Oh my
Erickson.
God, that was a bad, tough year to watch him. Real quick, give me a second. Big Papa, what's up, brother? Welcome to the channel. I've been trying to get a hold of you. Do me a favor, send me an email. Send me an email to ninersicknesspodcast@gmail.com. I want to give you your prize. I've been trying to get it to you, but I don't have your mailing address. So I don't want to forget. I make notes, but I move things around, and I don't want you to think that, man, this guy gives things away and never sends them out. So do me a favor, send me an email with your mailing address or P.O. Box, whatever you feel comfortable with, at ninersicknesspodcast@gmail.com. I would appreciate that, Big Papa. Thank you. Sorry about that. I've been trying to get a hold of this
You
guy
fine.
for a minute.
Beto, I need you to write a book, bro, because I would have never thought you were around in the '70s, man. You look a lot younger than being able to follow the team in the '70s,
Wow.
bro. So you
I'm,
gotta you gotta tell us what that fountain of youth, where that fountain of youth comes from.
oh, wow. Oh, my God. You're really making me blush here. I'm an old, yeah, I'm old. Trust me, I'm past my 50s.
Wow, man.
But I appreciate that. Yeah, like I said, I followed the Niners. I followed the Niners on TV since '76, and then my first game that I went to Candlestick was the Catch with Dwight Clark. That was my
Wow.
actual first game. I was on the opposite side of the field, but I was there. I was able to experience that. And one of the things that I really, I have a lot of autograph, like all my pictures are autographed that I had the players autograph themselves. and his stuffed jerseys. But one of the things that I really take pride in is that I got to go to all five Super Bowls and watch it in person. I watched
Wow.
all five Super Bowls in live, and that's something that I unfortunately I can't leave to my family, but I'll take it with me to the grave. But as long as I'm alive, something that I've experienced and that I loved and always remember the five wins and the the parades in San Francisco on Mission when the Niners were showing off the trophy. Unfortunately, we haven't had one in a while. I know you guys are desperate to see one. We went to the Super Bowl in 2019. We fell short. I honestly thought that would have. I honestly thought that was going to be our sixth Lombardi trophy, but our
It
defense,
was there for us, man. It
yeah,
was
our
there for
defense
us.
kind of hit the flat tire in the fourth quarter, and Patrick Mahomes, just being Patrick Mahomes, came alive and
Right. It's coming. It's coming, Beto. I feel it in the next few years. I think that this regime and the team that's building right now, and I know we're going to get into it. I feel like it's going to be good for a long time, and we're going to see multiple championships out of this group. So I'm excited about that.
Exactly. And the thing is, and we're going to talk about this gentleman in a later segment, but the Trey Lance experience, if that experience is what we hope it will be, and he'll be the quarterback that we hope he can be, this team is going to be great for years to come. We're going to be competitive. But now, one of the things that concerns me now, we're getting into high position players in our, you know, on our team. We don't want to be like the Rams where they have no depth and on their team. They have a lot of star power, but if any of those players go down, they're in a predicament, right? We have a lot of depth, but we have Debo that we're going to pay. We're going to have Bosa that we're going to pay. Now, if Brandon Ayuk has a breakout year, can you really have two high pay receivers on your roster? I looked at all the rosters in the NFL, and there's no two receivers that are getting paid 18 or more a year. Can the Niners do that? I think it's going to be tough. Or did the Niners eventually bring in either Debo or Yuke's replacement in Danny Gray? That would have to wait to be seen. So let me ask you real quick. We pay Debo, and we're going to pay him. We're
Hmm.
going to pay Bosa next year. Probably going to be the highest paid defensive end at his position. By the following year, if Ayuk has a great year this year, he's going to be standing his hand out. Do you think the Niners can afford to keep Debo and Ayuk at a high pay rate, or do you think they'll move one of those guys?
It's a great question, Beto, and I think it's the benefit to Ayuk is they actually went up and got him in the first round. So unlike Debo, who was drafted in the second round, they have the benefit of the fifth year option that they could grab with him, and so it gives them a little bit of a buffer year before they have to really make that decision. Now, I think the way that they're going to build up Debo's contract is they'll probably front end it where all of the
Mm.
guarantees are in the first 3 years, which is pretty much the same timeline as Trey Lance when they're going to have to re up Trey Lance because they have 3 more years of Trey Lance on the rookie scale. And then that fourth year is where they're going to have to make a decision to give him big money and extend him based off of his play. So there's really just that 1 year where they'd have to be able to fit both of them in, which is like the third year in of Debo's extension, and then that fifth year going into that sixth year. So they're going to have basically 2 years to see who's better. Is it Debo or is it Brandon Ayuk? And then when they actually have to make that decision, they'll probably move one of them if they can't fit both of them under the cap. But I think that it's kind of a good problem to have, Beto, because you do have, two guys that you could trust for at least the next 2 years. Hopefully, there's a lot of winning in those next 2 years. And, you know, even though Debo is this is his first big extension, he's actually a older guy for where he is at in his career, right? He's going into year 26 or 27, I believe. So this extension is going to put him into his 30s. Ayuk is still very young, so it might be a situation where Debo, they maybe move Debo because Ayuk is playing better and younger, or vice versa based off of where they're at. So I don't think we really have to worry about that too much because this regime does a great job. They went up and got him in the first round, so they don't have to worry about it, which was a great move in my estimation.
No, I agree. Very good point there. I agree. With that fifth year option, kind of like what we're doing with Bosa this year, in order for us to focus on Debo, we were able to extend that fifth year option on Bosa and not have to worry about kind of his contract to next offseason. And a lot of people are like, well, the Bosa should get extended this year. But I go, Bosa's smart. Bosa comes from a family that is his brother's in the NFL, just got an extension a year or 2 years ago. His dad plays, so he understands the game. He understands the financial part. If he has a great 2022 season, his pay grade just got up higher next offseason. So I think Bosa will be willing to play it on the fifth year option this year. Before we proceed real quick, let me go ahead and acknowledge some of the people that has been coming in. We got Moses Martinez in the house, our D-back disciple. We got David McNew. Happy Father's Day, brother. We have Kathy Sanchez. I like to call her the queen of the Niner Sickness podcast. This lady is 73 years old and has two jobs. Works two jobs to take care of her kids that have they have disabilities. And man, this woman is 73 years old and working two jobs, bro. It's not easy.
It's not easy if you're 23 years old, bro.
Yeah.
Let alone be 73.
73, man. So she's a trooper. Real quick,
Absolutely.
Kimberly, how you doing, Kimberly? Welcome to the channel. We got Dina Harvey from Philly, all the way from Philly, representing the red and gold. We got Tanisha in the house. How you doing, Tanisha? Welcome, welcome. And we got our Facebook user. I like to tell people, unless you put your name behind your statement or allow Ecamm to identify who you are, best option is to subscribe to my channel on YouTube. YouTube automatically allows me to know who you are so that I can properly say hello to you. Like it just says Facebook user. So everyone, welcome and happy Father's Day again to all of you on this wonderful Sunday. So let me ask you, my friend, is the let's move on to the offensive line of this team. There's been quite a few changes. We got the change at the left guard, we got a change at the center, and kind of a change at the right tackle, right? With McClinchy coming back, we don't know what we're getting in McClinchy. I wanted to ask you, what is one of your biggest concerns going into this season with the changes that are taking place with this offensive line?
Yeah, and Beto, I think this is obviously where most of the faithful are the most, I guess, nervous when it comes to the team is the offensive line. And clearly, you mentioned it, right? When two out of the five starters are going to be new, meaning not even really started many games in the NFL, and Aaron Banks and it seems like Jake Brendel, that's 40% of your offensive line. So continuity is obviously a really big thing. So that's where I think most people are nervous. Now, for me, I'm not that nervous, man. To be honest, I'm not highly concerned because I do think that as much as we understand the importance of the offensive line, Beto, the 49ers and Kyle Shanahan understands the importance of the offensive line, and especially with the first year starter in Trey Lance and how important the rushing attack is for this offense to chug away. I really don't think that the 49ers would leave it to chance. And they had all the opportunities to go out and trade up in the draft to either get one of the more highly sought centers in the draft or go through free agency and be a little more aggressive there. We've seen it before, right? We've seen them a few years ago when they traded for Trent Williams because they didn't really have an option there at left tackle because they were losing their left tackle that year through retirement. They did the same thing right now where the Alex Mack, it seemed like they knew what was happening, but instead of trading for a player or trading up in the draft for a player or bringing in a guy like JC Treader, who a lot of people have been, clamoring for them to get. They clearly have a lot of confidence in Jake Brendel, and that's why they haven't done anything at that position. Same goes for Aaron Banks. That was a guy who was a second round draft pick from last season. His natural position is left guard. Unfortunately, at that time for him, there was no reps for him at left guard because they obviously have an all pro caliber player in Laken Tomlinson there. But it's smart from this organization and this front office to understand that, look, Laken Tomlinson is probably going to price himself out or has the option to price himself out. So let's get somebody a year early than a year too late to be his replacement. And we've seen, the way that Banks has looked this mini camp. He looks a lot healthier. He looks leaner, just as big, but it seems like now it's more muscle than excess weight. And I think that they're going to be fine. This was a top 10 offensive line last year, even though it was decimated by injuries, a lot of turnover and things of that nature, as far as people coming in and plugging and playing, whether it be Colton McKivitz, Justin School, obviously Tom Compton finished out the season at right tackle. So I just think that there's a lot of depth here. Mike McGlinchey is actually going to be an upgrade at the right tackle position, even if we don't get 100% of him, even like 80, 90%, still upgrades our rushing attack because he's so good there. And not to mention, Beto, this is his 5th year. So he has to now play for his next contract, whether it be with the 49ers or auditioning for another team. So that means we're getting a motivated Mike McGlinchey, which usually means we're going to get the best version of them. And so I'm not too worried. I think that the 49ers will be fine. And Kyle Shanahan mentioned it in the state of the franchise. Just because they're not familiar players to the faithful doesn't mean that they're worse. And Kyle Shanahan even stated that he feels there's a chance this offensive line could even be better than last season's. And I think the same thing.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. A lot of 49er fans do get concerned when nobody likes change. Let's keep it real. A lot of people don't like change. They like to be stable. But sometimes change could be better, not always worse. We always presume that change can be worse, but I'm confident in Aaron Banks as well. I watched him in Notre Dame. He played a little bit of center when Quentin was playing left guard there, but once he went to the Colts, they moved Aaron Banks back to that position. And he came in last year. They tried him out. He got hurt early. A lot of Niner fans don't remember. He got hurt a little early, and then they tried to put him at right guard. And some players are able to be able to play one position and then play the other, but some of them have a little bit hard getting there. And it's like I tell people, it's like people that drive here in the United States that drive on the left side. You go somewhere like in Europe and you start driving on the right side, even though you're driven for so many years. You're going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be weird. You're going to, you're not going to be able to turn right. And you're like, you drove, people have driven for years, but it's just not what you're used to. So I tell the Niner fans, just relax. The Niners are very confident that Aaron Banks can definitely go next to the big silverback and work alongside with him. And I think Trent makes everyone next to him even better. The center position is someone that I was a little bit concerned, but I've been hearing a lot of good things about Jake Brendel. He's not a rookie. He's been in the league for a while. He just hasn't gotten his opportunity to showcase what he's about. Hopefully, he'll plan out for us. One thing that I do like is that since Trey wasn't a starter last year, him and Trey have been getting a lot of snaps with one another. They're very, very familiar with each other. So going into this season, one starting fresh at center and the other one starting fresh at quarterback, even though they're new, they're familiar with each other. So I think I like that part. And Brunskill, I don't even know if Brunskill is going to make the team, honestly. I do like this kid, Spencer Burford. I think this guy can really push for that right guard position. But Brunskill, a lot of times, but we know Kyle though. Kyle likes to go with experience. Kyle
The
likes to
vets, yeah.
go with what he knows. It's something about starting rookies, right? He doesn't like to start rookies. A lot of people are like, well, Elijah Mitchell started. I go, he started because we
Of an
lost
injury.
what's the
Mostert.
name? Yeah, Mostert for the year. Otherwise, he probably wouldn't have played as much. So, and
Hmm.
that's a mo with him. But Moses wanted to say what's up, brother. He wanted to give you a
Absolutely, man.
shout
We
out.
got Central Cali love. I'm originally from Bakersfield, so we got that
Bakersfield,
Central Cali connection. So
right on. So he wanted to give you some love, and then I like, we have a certain way to go, but I like sometimes freestyle a little bit. I know a lot of my viewers, they love to ask questions, and Tanisha has a great question. I'm gonna allow you to answer if you don't mind. She asks you, she has a curious question for you. Do you think that Jim Harbaugh was a better coach than Kyle Shanahan?
that's so tough, Tanisha. Great question. I don't know if you can really say one's better than the other because they both pretty much have accomplished the same. Both been to two NFC Championship games and once and lost in one Super Bowl. I think that Harbaugh had success quicker than Kyle Shanahan, clearly, but overall, for me, I just think Kyle Shanahan is a better fit, especially with this ownership. Clearly, Shanahan and York have a better relationship than Harbaugh and York had, and I think I think as far as success, if Jim Harbaugh was our coach, I would be happy. I think he's a great, amazing coach, and he did wonders with the 49ers. I feel the same way about Kyle Shanahan. So I don't know if my fandom would allow me to say which one's better, but as of right now, I think Harbaugh being out of the NFL and coaching for Michigan is a good thing, and Shanahan being the 49ers coach is a great thing as well. So I'll just answer it like that. I think it might have been a cop out, but that's the
No,
way I'm
no.
answering it,
Uh,
though.
that's actually a very, very good way of answering because you're right. Both of them have their great skill set. They're similar but different. I like
Hmm.
Kyle Shanahan's more of his play calling, than Harbaugh. But Harbaugh got us to a Super Bowl. Unfortunately, we lost as well and got us to two championships. So they both did their part. So it's kind of hard to compare one over the other who's better. I think both of them did their job correctly. Let's look at the other coaches that were in here besides Harbaugh and Kyle, and you can tell that Kyle and Harbaugh have both been successful
Levels
at
above them, right?
exactly at their positions. So I'm glad that we lost Harbaugh. That was heartbreaking, but at least we got Kyle now, and I think Kyle is getting better through the years. Is he kind of a type of guy that's set in his ways? Yes. Does he do things sometimes that kind of like, what are you doing, Kyle? Yes, but I think he's learning as he goes and he's getting better. And now that he has the mobile quarterback that he always wanted, we're gonna see if we can get an RG3 type of year this year with Trey. We're gonna find out soon enough. Let me see if anybody else is popping in, but yeah, coming to the offensive line, I like the fact that Aaron Banks will be next to Trent. We're going to figure out the center situation, but somebody asked a question regarding. Let's see if I can bring it up. There it is. No border sports. Oh, I had it up there. Sorry.
Yeah.
The replacement for McClinchy. I don't know about you, and I would like to get your thought on this, but I think Jalen Moore might be working that way. And what are your thoughts on Jalen Moore on taking over at that spot? Or do you think one of the guys that they drafted this year might be one they could take that spot next year? Because it is Mike McClinchy's contract year, and they may keep him and they may not. Who do you, if they decide not to keep Mike, who do you think will be a good spot to fit in there?
Yeah, so I think that the 49ers front office has created this because they built this team so well. And you mentioned early on in this stream, it's they have the most depth of probably any of the contenders. And now I think when they draft, they're not drafting for immediate impact, they're redshirting their rookies to have an impact or give them options in the future. I think Burford, the gentleman you mentioned, Spencer Burford, that you thought might fill in for right guard, I think they're grooming him to be the heir apparent to Mike McGlinchey, so that if Mike McGlinchey has a great season this year, ends up demanding too much money on the open market, they could let him walk, much like they did Lakin, and they already had Banks there to replace him. I think Burford is going to be the replacement for Mike McGlinchey, and he's been showing some signs of being really good, as far as in the mini camps and things of that nature. So I think they're just going to develop him for a year, and then he'll be the starting right tackle if and when McGlinchey goes off. I think Moore actually is more geared to be the future right guard. So I think that he has the athleticism. I think that they've already mentioned that they see him more as a guard than a tackle. So I think the future of the 49ers are Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, Brendel, Jalen Moore, and Spencer Burford as the future offensive line. But as of this year, I think that the right guard position will be Daniel Brunskill. I think right tackle will be McGlinchey, and everything else the same as the Facebook user mentioned.
Yeah, he's. I left it up there. John, his name John Storbar. He says, yeah, he agrees with you. Trent Williams, Aaron Banks, center Jake Brendel, and then at right guard it would be Daniel Brunskill, and then he's right with you on the right tackle. He believes that Spencer Burford could fill in there. I apologize if you guys hear a little bit of a car background. Normally, I have my window closed in my office, but it's been we try to have the air conditioner off, and so we have the windows open. So if a little bit of cars go by, I apologize ahead of time. But so I agree on that. I think that that's a good call. You're right. I forgot about Jalen Moore. Now that you mention it, I remember hearing that they're looking more him as a prospect, as a guard, to eventually take over Brunskill, probably in the following year in 2023. So the Niners always do this, like you said. They always, one thing I like about John Lynch, they always think ahead, and they're always prepared for a departure of a certain player. They don't like to get with their, saying it goes, don't get caught with your pants down. They're very good at trying to bring in someone. Whether it works out, that's a whole different story. But they're always trying to prepare themselves to bring someone to eventually take over for a position of a player that maybe wants too much money, we couldn't afford, and then if they move on, kind of like Tomlinson. Tomlinson was a good. It wasn't great in my opinion. It was a good left guard. He did give up some crazy sacks to, I believe, when Jimmy hurt his arm, or it was one of those pass rushers that got by Mr. Tomlinson. So he was okay. A lot of people said he was great. I don't think he was great. I don't know what your opinion with him. I don't think he was good enough for the money that the Jets paid him. Do you think the Niners should have paid him, or do you think the Niners did right by letting him go, especially with Aaron Banks being there at the helm, ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that will be, that's kind of what the question that is going to be moving forward. Like, obviously the 49ers made their choice. I think the thing that most of the faithful liked about Tomlinson was he was the only player on the offensive line that stayed healthy. Like, he was always available, right? So, and he did obviously play. He was, Pro Bowl player. He was an alternate this last year. So he did play at a high level. And he was available, right? The best ability is availability. So
Yes.
for an offensive line that continuously gets decimated by injuries, the guy that's always there ends up becoming the person that you really could count on. So, like you said, Aaron Banks was injured last season, so now you're replacing somebody that came off of injury with somebody who rarely got injured. So I think that's where the hesitancy comes from. However, you always want to upgrade, right? You always want to get younger, cheaper, as long as the level of play doesn't
Yes.
diminish too much. Clearly, the 49ers felt like they had a solution there. Shanahan has mentioned that they felt like, um, Banks was ready to play even last season, but he's more about the continuity. Didn't want to affect what was going on during the winning streak. So I think that Aaron Banks will be fine. He was a second round draft pick. He's no slouch, right? Obviously was a second round grade. Played for a team in Notre Dame that is known for developing good offensive linemen, and he's going back to his natural position. So I think that they did fine. They're saving money where they want to save money, and then hopefully using that money for a player that is even better than Laken Tomlinson moving forward.
Exactly. So yeah, that's a very good point, and that's what the Niners are looking forward to doing is getting younger, getting better. But we hope that the production is as good or better than the person they're replacing. And I think a lot of people are going to be surprised with Aaron Banks. I think they're going to like his style of football. He's a mauler. He likes to
He's very
pull.
technical, a lot
Yes.
of technique. Where he's going to be different from Lakin is he's not as athletic. So the plays where he needs to get to the second, like to the linebacker, that's where he tends to get lost. But he's a very technical guy, great feet, great hands, and so you're going to see somebody who just wins through technique versus just all out athleticism. That's kind of his knock is he's not very athletic, but overall size, technique, extremely good. So for what they're going to ask him to do, I think they'll put him in good situations.
Yeah, one of the things that Lincoln did well was run block. He was a very
Hmm.
good run blocker, not so much in the pass protection. I think with Aaron Banks, we're is switching around a little bit. I think he's better at the pass protection than he is run blocking. But we'll see how it goes. But the way Kyle schemes things up, brother, he'll scheme up the best to benefit the offensive line, and it doesn't hurt to have a mobile quarterback back there. They can help out the offensive line as well. So moving on to our next topic, brother, is our young stud. Hopefully, he'll be the stud of the future. One Trey Lance. I don't know if you heard, and I had prepared a video, but and I got to look for it. But I don't know if you heard of Jones talk about Trey Lance and what he heard of Aaron Rodgers when he was a rookie. What he heard about what everything there was, all the rumbling that was coming out of camp when Patrick Mahomes was. The players are excited. People were excited about him. He says that a lot of the same things he's hearing this year from the 49ers camp, and it's not even training camp yet. What are your thoughts on that? Have you seen that video?
I did. I did. And I mean, it puts a lot of these haters that have been coming out of the woodworks trying to detract away from Trey Lance and say that he's already a bust and that he doesn't have whatever, one trick pony like Emmanuel Acho said on
Yeah.
his show. It's nice to hear guys that are actually in the know speaking more positively about him because everything we've heard from the team, from the coaching staff, has all been positive. It's just these guys that have no connection to the organization that have these negative narratives that are coming about with Trey Lance. But for me, I'm very excited about Trey. I kind of want to touch on the Facebook user saying we cannot afford to have a predominantly mobile quarterback. We cannot take a chance of Lance getting hurt, and I think that's like the biggest misconception about Trey Lance is that he's a predominantly mobile quarterback. No, he just has the ability to be mobile. He is a predominantly pocket passing
Yes.
quarterback. He
Yes.
uses his mobility to get open to be able to throw the ball. He's not somebody that wants to take off running consistently. Like he has the ability to, I wouldn't say to the level of Lamar Jackson, but
No.
where he's going to differ from Lamar Jackson is where Lamar Jackson realizes and kind of utilizes his feet to get the explosive plays for Baltimore. Trey Lance wants to be a quarterback first. Like his goal is to get the ball out of his hands with his arm rather than pick up yards with his feet. So I think just because of his mobility and because unfortunately the way Shanahan used him against Arizona, a lot of people have this narrative about him that he's just a mobile running quarterback, where I don't think that's the case at all. You could definitely tell he's worked on his mechanics. His arm strength is going to be one of the stronger arms that we've ever had on the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan. He got where it says maybe his concern. We do need to see him, increase his accuracy, but I think that the finger injury played a big role in his lack of accuracy last year. So, and now he gets all of the snaps with the ones. So he has a year underneath his belt, especially since the last year he was coming off a full year of not playing football. So I think that we're going to see him um, in the in the uh, in the swing of things. He obviously is a hardworking player, Beto. I think you could tell he's a very intelligent guy. I think him and Kyle Shanahan are gonna make magic together. Not saying I don't think he's gonna have an Aaron Rodgers first year or a Patrick Mahomes first year, just because the 49ers offense doesn't ask their quarterback to do that. But I do think that he's going to play. I put this out there. If he plays average, which I believe we got from Jimmy Garoppolo, an average quarterback play, this will be a playoff team. If we get good quarterback play from Trey Lance, this will be a Super Bowl contender. If we get great quarterback play out of Trey Lance, this will be the Super Bowl favorite. So that's kind of how I look at it. What do I expect from him? I think he's going to be somewhere between the average and good. But 2-3 years from now, he's going to be somebody who's one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, I agree. A couple years from now, they'll be talking to him in the way they talk about Josh Allen, the Patrick Mahomes, and so forth. And I think that this kid is special. I tell a lot of the Niner faithful, be patient with him. He's going to make his mistakes. This guy hasn't played a lot of football, but he's very intelligent between the years, was raised properly, is eager to learn. He wants to be the best at his position. He is surrounded with a good cast, and that's something that people need to realize too when young quarterbacks is what are you surrounding the quarterback with? A lot of these quarterbacks, they like Trevor Lawrence that played, I'm a Crimson Tiger fan, who plays sensational there, went to a bad team. And even though he plays good, he struggles because of that bad team. Same thing with Wilson with the Jets. Justin Fields with the Bears. I think Mac Jones is probably the only one that went to a better team with the Patriots, and you saw his production there. But I think Trey, just getting the snaps, getting himself comfortable, making decisions on the fly, getting the feel of the defenders coming at him. And you're right. One thing the misconception, you're 100% right, is people think he's a running quarterback first. He is not. He is a pocket passer that is able to extend plays with his legs if need to be, but he's always looking down the field to complete that ball. As Lamar Jackson, I like to call Lamar Jackson a running back playing at the quarterback position, because this kid takes off. The first instinct is to take off. If his first read's not there and he sees a lane, he takes off and tries to take advantage of it with his legs, and he's really good at it. Unfortunately, players like that don't last very long because of that mobility. But with Trey's more in the pocket, looking for that play to develop and trying to get the ball to that playmaker and let them do their job. But if he has to extend a play, and that's one of the things that I'm looking forward this year that Jimmy didn't do. Jimmy would never extend the plays very much with his legs. Another thing, too, is Jimmy was always looking, within the 10, 15-yard line to throw the ball. He would never look deep, obviously, because he can't throw it. But I don't know if you remember the one of the plays, I believe it was in the fourth quarter, 10 minutes were left on the clock, where Trey Lance threw that touchdown to Debo, that bomb to Debo. I forgot which receiver was open at the first down, where I told myself, if it would have been Jimmy, he would have gave it to that first. I think it was
either Kittle or Ayuk.
Yeah, and it would have been a first down, and that would have been good because we would have continued to move the ball. But he would have checked it. He would have gave it to his check down. What you saw in Trey was even though he saw the development of the play with Debo. He allowed Debo the play to develop, and then he threw him the ball and got it to him. The rest is history. That's one thing that I like, and I also like the way he looked at Kyle Shanahan, kind of like, yeah, that's probably what you didn't call, but I seen it, and I think that's going to be that love and hate relation between them. Where I don't think as Trey gets more comfortable, I think he's going to improvise on what he sees on the field and not always execute what Kyle Shanahan asks. And one thing about Jimmy, no matter what's open in the field, he always executed the game plan, which he was good. I just think we're getting a different type of quarterback with Trey. And I love what you said, and you're very honest about saying that if he is an average quarterback, we're getting pretty much what Jimmy was. If he plays a little bit above average, the chances of us going further are even better. And if he plays above average, then we're talking of a whole different situation. And that's what we're looking for. But I don't expect that, honestly, this year. If he does it and he blows us out of the water, then hey, I would love to see that. But I do expect him to struggle. Now, I don't want him to struggle, but if he struggles, I prefer him to struggle in September and not so much in December or January. I hope that by that time he kind of gets a little bit more comfortable with his throwing. And the whole mechanic thing, I think that's just practice. That's something that you just had to work. If you said his name, Josh Allen, when he came out of college out of Wyoming, he did not have a very good accuracy either. That was one of the keys on him, that he was very bad, and people were dismissing him. Remember his first year, he was bad, and the people dismissed him. And now, what is he, a top 3 quarterback? And
some say the best.
Some people put him right up there with Mahomes. So you got to allow your quarterback to develop. You got to allow him to feel comfortable at what he's doing. And I tell a lot of Niner fans, you got to be patient with Trey, because I got a feeling that if Trey plays bad in a couple of first games, people are going to be wanting to kick him out of San Francisco. And I tell people you can't do that. So I
think, Beto, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but one of the things that I wanted to piggyback off of your one of the points that you made. So I think a lot of people don't realize when Kyle Shanahan schemes up plays, he doesn't necessarily tell the quarterback where to throw it. It's their decision where to throw the ball. But he always has 3 levels of where the ball could go. He's going to have, a bailout route. He's going to have the underneath thing, and then he's going to have a deep route. So where what you were just mentioning as far as that Houston play, there was an open receiver right there with, let's say it's Ayuk. I don't really remember, but it could have been Ayuk that was open there, which is the throw that Jimmy usually makes, because that's where he's confident and comfortable within his arm. But that third option isn't a decoy. If it's there, you're supposed to take that as well. The difference is Jimmy just didn't have confidence in his arm to take that deep ball consistently. Trey does have confidence in his arm to be able to do that. So that's why I think receivers like Debo, especially a receiver like Brandon Ayuk, is going to be able to take full advantage now, because it's not that Kyle Shanahan is afraid of throwing the ball down the field. He always has that option there. And a lot of times Brandon Ayuk is getting separation. It's just Jimmy wasn't willing to take that chance because he wasn't as confident with his arm. I think Trey is going to take that chance more. So I don't expect the fundamentals of this offense to change much. What I do think is going to change is the decision-making of Trey Lance and the opportunities that he'll take, which will make the offense look different, Beto, to just the casual eye. But if you're really paying attention, it was always there. Just Jimmy never took it. So it lulls us into believing that Shanahan doesn't want to take that, doesn't want you to take that. But it's not a Shanahan thing, because you saw in Atlanta, when he had a quarterback like Matt Ryan, they were airing the ball out, right? And so I think we're going to see that more, not because all of a sudden the schemes changed. No, it's the quarterback that's making the decisions that's going to change.
Exactly, brother. Exactly. People, I love that reference of the Matt Ryan, Matty Ice there in Atlanta. People do say that the reason why Jimmy didn't throw deep is because the way that Kyle schemes the offense. Kyle schemes the offense based on what he has at quarterback. He knew he can't go deep with Jimmy, so why even try? So he had to work it where the intermediate 10, 15, 20 yard throws. With uh, Matt Ryan, you saw a lot of those deep balls to Julio Jones, and you saw, and that was Kyle Shanahan calling plays there. So I believe that he will, as Trey gets comfortable, as he gets more familiar with his offensive line, he gets comfortable with reading defenses and making adjustments. I think probably more like to the middle of the season, you might start seeing it. Kyle open it up a little bit more for Trey to go deep, and Trey can do it. And you have
I think it's week one, bro. Like I'm saying,
really
those plays are already there. That's what I'm trying
okay,
to get the
okay,
fans to understand is those routes were always there. Brandon Ayuk was the deep route, and
okay,
if you watch the all 22, there's more times than not he was creating separation and he was ready, get hand out ready for the ball. The problem was Jimmy didn't take that chance, and it's not a Kyle Shanahan thing. It's a Jimmy comfortable thing. Like he didn't
okay.
feel confident throwing the ball to the deep option. There's always a deep option in all of Kyle Shanahan's schemes. That's what there's a close route, there's an intermediate route, there's a deep route. The way that he schemes out his plays, it's up to the quarterback on what choice they make. And unfortunately, Jimmy doesn't take that deep route as much because he's not as comfortable with his arm, which makes it seem like Kyle Shanahan is limiting. It's not Kyle Shanahan that's limiting Jimmy. It's Jimmy that's limiting Jimmy. So that's why I'm saying the offense will actually be exactly the same, but it'll look different because of the choices that Lance is making. So that's why I'm saying week one, you're going to be able to see Trey Lance air it out because if he sees Brandon Ayuk open, he's actually going to throw the ball there versus just doing the check down, which
Very
is
good point.
exactly what you saw on the play that you were mentioning against Houston. Brandon Ayuk was open on the intermediate route that Jimmy would have taken, but because Debo got open, he took the deep route there. So Jimmy maybe wouldn't have taken that shot, which makes you think that, oh, maybe Kyle Shanahan schemed up a different play. He didn't. It's the same play. The difference was Trey took that shot.
Yeah, you know what? Very good point. I'm glad you brought it up. You're right. I was thinking more of middle of the season. I'm getting comfortable. You're right. Those plays were there, and just like he threw that deep ball to a U last year, if that play develops week one or week two, and he's in a position to throw long, he's going to do it. You're right. He's not going to hesitate. So therefore, it's hard to say when he's going to do. He's going to see what the defense is doing and who is able to get away from their defender. So I think Ayuk is going to have a great year. He's already was,
Breakout.
he was
Breakout
already
year this
heading
year.
that way already. I know he struggled a little bit in the beginning of the season, got in the doghouse, the whole scenario there. But towards the end of the season, he really started to heat up, and hopefully, one of the things that I like about I don't know if you heard of the Ayuk or remember hearing Ayuk say in the at the franchise state of the franchise was they asked him that he struggled in the beginning of the season, but he kind of started to take off from the Bears game, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the guy told him, Papa, great Papa told him, you started to take off at the Bears game, and he says, well, you know who we're playing week one. We're playing the Bears, so
Right.
stating that he's gonna start where he left off, and
Right.
I like that mindset. And with Trey able, a lot of people are expecting Danny Gray to be the only deep receiver to take
Right.
the top off of defense, but I think it'll be more a Uke than Danny as Danny gets familiar with the offense. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think Danny is actually the fifth guy off of the bench, right? I think Ray probably gets an opportunity before
Ray
Danny
Ray,
Gray
okay,
when it comes to opportunities on the field. Obviously, Debo, Ayuk, and Jennings are going to be the mainstays there because you also have to fit in. Kittle is an option there, and then because Anthony Lynn is the new running backs coordinator, he likes his running backs being able to catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So there's just uh, a lot of people that need to get fed the ball in the passing game. So I don't know how much Danny Gray is actually going to play this season, but yeah, as far as the deep threat, it's always been Brandon Ayuk. Like I said, Brandon Ayuk has been limited because Jimmy Garoppolo was his quarterback. So we haven't really seen what Brandon Ayuk is capable of. We've seen flashes, but it's more been because of his yak ability, right? We've seen him do the amazing play where he's hurdling players against Philly. We've seen him break tackles and do the jet sweeps and things of that nature. But he's a true route runner, great at making decisions on the field, and has great hands and is able to separate. He's always been the deep option. Unfortunately, if you have a quarterback that isn't willing to take that deep option, you're left in the abyss where people
Yeah.
don't realize what you're capable of. But a fun stat, Beto, is when Brandon Ayuk gets at least 45 yards last season, the 49ers were 6-2. So if he
I
gets the
like it.
ball and if he's used, the team is very hard to beat because of just how good of a receiver he is. And obviously, if he's going now, all of a sudden Debo's going, Kittle's going, everybody's going, because who do you guard at that point? You only
Yeah.
have so many DBs. You can't double everybody, you know?
Yeah, and if and players they feed off each other. You're right. They feed off the motivation. That, if one receiver's playing good, the other one feeds off of that. And I think you will have a breakout year. I think like I said, he was already hitting that way now with Trey Lance, and him and Trey have always he always helps Trey out. Last year when Trey was throwing the ball, so Trey's very comfortable with Ayuk and likes Ayuk a lot. So hopefully this will be the Ayuk show this season.
Right.
You
I
know,
think he's over 1,000 yards, bro. I think he could be a top 10 receiver.
come
I
on,
think he
bro.
has that kind of talent.
What do you think his yards? What are your estimation of his yards
I
and
think he's gonna
TDs?
be so look, Debo had ridiculous yards in the first half of the season, right? And then they moved him to wide back,
Yeah,
and he wasn't getting as many yards, but he still finished off with over 1,400. I think both of them could. I actually think Ayuk will have more receiving yards than Debo this year, and I think he'll be in that 1,200 range.
I love it. 1,200. And what do you think about touchdowns? About the 8
So I
touchdowns?
mean, he's been averaging five touchdowns per season in his last 2 years. I think eight is a good number, Beto. I like it right there around eight touchdowns. I think would be where I would see Ayuk be this year.
I love it, brother. 8 touchdowns, 1,200 yards or more. That is definitely something that I would love to see. And that's just a you. We're not even
Hmm.
thinking about what Kittle or
Debo,
Debo is going to do.
they
He
easily could have three receivers over 1,000 yards.
easily, yeah. And I don't see. I will never see Jennings with a lot of yards. I don't see him, being the main guy. But what I think I like about Jennings, and I liked him right out of when he came out of from Tennessee, seventh rounder. He fought hard to get where he's at. So I'm really happy for him. They cut him at one point. They brought him back, put him on the practice squad, and then brought him back. And eventually, he started to work his way up. And I like this kid. I really, really do,
He
especially on
competes,
third
right,
on third
Beto?
downs.
He competes. He
Yeah,
competes, right?
he competes, and he's getting better with the catching the ball. There were a couple of plays last year where he made some ridiculous catches.
Hmm.
A lot of people say that Kendrick Bourne was better. I like Kendrick Bourne, but the boy can drop balls like it was nobody's business. I
He
don't
doesn't
see
have the
that.
frame and the size of Jennings either. The strength, I believe.
Exact, and I love Jennings' attitude. He when he gets the ball, he's not going down. He's kind of like a little junior Kittle. He's not
Hmm.
going down. He wants to emphasize his body size against the defender, and I love this. And I think Juwan Jennings is going to have a great year as well. I don't expect him to hit over 1,000 yards, but I think him just allowing to move the chains every time on third down, moving those chains to first downs, will be
And
a
red zone.
very productive year for him. Let me ask you about
He could be a
Jawan
big
Jennings.
red zone threat too. He could be a big red zone threat as well.
So you think with the addition of Trey, obviously Trey's going to make everybody better, but do you think Jawan Jennings could benefit also from Trey over Jimmy?
I think Trey is going to benefit from Juwan Jennings because having that safety valve, that big body that you could just throw it up in the air and he could just use his basketball, because he originally was a basketball player. So, that ability to
Okay.
box out and just catch the ball at its highest point. That's kind of what Jennings strong point is. So he has good feet. He knows how to frame off the defender, and like you said, he's gonna be that specialist on third down, goal line opportunities where you just have like a big body that you could just throw that post up play to. So I think that's gonna be where Jennings comes in, and then obviously his ability to block. He's one of the better
Yes.
blockers out of the wide receivers, and he just competes. I remember at the end of the season, I forget against who, where he like pancaked his guy that he was blocking, and you just saw Shanahan get so pumped on the sideline from it, and just the whole team kind of get that adrenaline jolt from seeing how much he's competing in the blocks. I think you mentioned it, bro. He's very similar mentality and style to a guy like George Kittle, where they feed off of that contact. They feed off of off of doing those like gritty things that maybe some other players shy away from. They're all for it, and that's why I think he brings to the team.
Exactly, bro. And one thing I like about Jennings, man, is what people don't realize, he is the better separating receiver out of all the receivers. The boy can separate away from defenders, and I think Kyle's even mentioned that about Juwan Jennings. I like them. I'm a big supporter of Juwan Jennings, and I'm looking forward for him having a great year with us. But you mentioned Ray McCloud, and I totally kind of dismissed him. I forgot about him actually, but people are in the conception that they brought him in just for special teams, and of course he is a pretty good punt returner, but people are dismissing his ability to play receiver. You've seen him with the Steelers. They did a lot with kind of similar with the youth, not the wide back, but the in and outs. And having him come from the back and running the ball, and this is something that that McLeod does very well. So I think having him in that offense, I think Kyle's going to use him a lot more than what people think. I think people, myself included, when he first came on, was okay. He's just special teams, but you're right. I think he's going to be used more on the offense than people think he will be.
This is the deepest wide receiver room that the 49ers have had under Kyle Shanahan. The back three, whether, we assume it's going to be obviously Ray and Danny Gray, and whoever that sixth option is, whether it's Malik Turner or Marcus Johnson, that they're the deepest back half than what we're used to, right? Last year we had Sanu, River Craycraft, and
Yeah.
it was, that sixth was between Richie James Jr. and, other guys that were coming in based off of injuries and whatnot. Like, the back three are guys that could actually make an impact on the field. And so I agree with you, man. I think Ray McLeod fits right in with the Yak Bros, with his speed and his ability to be elusive. So if you give him one of those wide receiver screens or even the jet sweeps that you see, I think he could be kind of like a mini Debo as far as just his ability to get utilized in the offense in different ways, whether it be out of the backfield or, behind the line of scrimmage, and give him that opportunity to just use his elusiveness to gain yards. I think you're going to see him play actually more than Danny Gray, to be honest. And you kind of saw it in training camp as well, or the mini camps. He was actually the most targeted receiver out of
Yeah.
everybody. So you're seeing that he's going to get an opportunity here. And he wasn't used as much in Pittsburgh, but let's be honest about Pittsburgh, man. They are a wide receiver factory over there. Like, it's a really, really hard to get playing time when you got so many number one options at wide receiver over there. So a guy like Ray obviously, falls back, especially when they utilize him so much on special teams. I do think he's going to get more opportunities on the field this year with the 49ers, and I think he'll take advantage of it.
I agree, and with Pittsburgh, last year was probably one of the worstest offensive performance from the Steelers. They were terrible on offense last year, and as we all know, Big Ben was declining. He's old. He retired. He wasn't the Ben of old, so then they didn't, and they have a Petra of receivers over there as well, like you said. So I believe that the skill set of McLeod was used more on special teams there, and he's going to be very effective. And I'm looking forward to see what he does on special teams, brother, because I am sick and tired of always having bad field position. I'm sick and tired
Right.
of having the Niners start at the 10, 15-yard line when the opposing offense is starting at the 30 or 40-yard line. And it's always, I hate that. So the special team play with him, hopefully he reminds me a little bit of, help me out here. He was a receiver that came from Miami a few years back. He was a punt returner for us as well.
Oh, you're talking about with the G. His last name started with the G.
Yeah,
Not Gannon.
I can't
Ted
think of
Ginn.
it. Ted Ginn, yes.
Yeah.
He was explosive. He was fun to watch. You don't know what was when the ball got in his hands. You don't know what he was going to do. I got with the kid you mentioned earlier. He's no longer here. Junior, that
Richie
receiver.
James.
Yeah. Oh my God! Every time fair catch, fair catch, fair catch,
Or
and
run
it's
out
like-
of bounds.
or run out of bounds. Yeah, and it's like, come on, really? You saw what Debo did against Green Bay when they came off from the half. He got the ball and he ran it, and he was explosive. Now you don't want to use Debo as a wide back. Now start using it as a punt returner, but bringing in Ray is definitely going to give us better field position and better for Trey. But you're right. I can't wait to see how they utilize him on the offense. So let me ask you, as we're getting closer to that hour of time, and it just goes so fast. We got Debo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Juwan Jennings, Ray McLeod, and Danny Gray. You got 5 receivers that are they're going to make the team. They normally go with 6. Somebody told me they went with 7 in 2020, but I looked at it and it wasn't true. It wasn't 7. I haven't really seen. Can you recall the last time the Niners had 7 receivers on the
I don't
squad?
think it's been in the Shanahan era. I think they've always gone with 6.
I agree. And exactly. I agree. So who of the ones that are on the outside looking in do you think may just be able to notch that 6th spot?
Yeah, so I really think it's Malik Turner's job to lose, Beto. And the reason why is I believe whoever is that 6th wide receiver is going to need the ability to play in special teams.
Yes.
And Brian Schneider, the new special teams coordinator, actually had Malik Turner play special teams for him in Seattle. So there's already a familiarity there.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So Malik Turner and Brian Schneider already have a relationship from their days in Seattle. So I just think it's his job to lose just because of familiarity.
Okay.
He's obviously played, with Seattle for Brian Schneider, but also
That's right.
was
That's
pretty
right.
effective, in Dallas as well when he got his opportunity. So he has that opportunity to play wide receiver, make an impact if he ever gets in the game, but more that special teams prowess and familiarity with Brian Schneider's scheme on special teams. I think it's his job to lose, but I think Marcus Johnson is right there nipping at his heels. So if Marcus Johnson can show out in training camp better, and obviously, injuries and all that kind of stuff are going to play a role. It could be Marcus Johnson as well. But if you're asking me to put money on who I think it is right now, I'm going to say Malik Turner just because of his relationship with Brian Schneider.
And that makes perfect sense. I totally forgot. You're right. He did play with Seattle. And I totally forgot that. And you're right. That's when our special teams coach was there. So that's a very good point. And so at this point, I tend to agree with you. By default, it's his position to lose. And hopefully, and I like Malik. I seen him play with the Cowboys. There was a couple, plays here and there that he kind of impressed me. He still has a lot of growing to do, but at the 6th receiver, really, you're probably going to be mainly special teams, not so much on the field. So you're going to have to be able to do your damage there. But I do like the 5 starting receivers that we have. But you're right. A lot of people think that Danny Gray is going to get a lot of playing time, but I tend to agree with you. I think if Ray McLeod has something to say about that, he might
Yeah.
he might say no, buddy. Maybe in the future, but you're gonna have to sit back and watch me do my thing first, and then we'll later let maybe next year. And that's a good thing to have. But I'm going to love to see the competition. I can't wait for training camp, bro. I cannot wait for training camp. I cannot wait for these positions to go out and compete with one another. I can't wait to hear things about Trey. Are you going to go? I know they opened it up to the fan base early on. When they open it up, are you going to get the chance to go?
Yeah, probably not. I mean, I work during the week and stuff like that, so it's going to be hard for me to get time off and head out to San Francisco. I actually live in LA, so
Oh,
it's a
you're
little bit
an.
of
I'm sorry. Okay, I didn't know that.
yeah, no, no. Yeah, I live in LA. So, yeah, and
That's
I mean,
hard.
Beto, to go off of your point, it's not just the receivers. It's pretty much every position group outside of maybe the linebackers where there's going to be competition not only to make the roster, but jump into a starting role, whether it be the running backs, right? We don't really know who that fourth running back's going to be. Is it Jeff Wilson Jr.? Is it Jermichael Hasty, or is it Jordan Mason? Cornerbacks, right? Is a guy like Diamador Lenore that we all really liked last season. Does he even make the roster without how much depth there is at cornerbacks? And same with the safeties. Who ends up becoming the starter next to Jimmy Ward? It looks like it's Hufanga, but does a guy like Odin or Tavarius Moore have a say in that? Do they move a guy like Dante Johnson into the safety position as well to keep him on the roster? There's just so much. And then who's going to be the nickel corner, right? There's so many like different positions that training camp is so meaningful because there's a lot of guys fighting for maybe one or two positions to be able to be starters. And then we haven't even touched on the defensive line where there's like guys that are probably not going to make the roster unless they keep 15 defensive linemen, because that's what it feels like they have on the roster right now.
Yeah, they normally go with 11, but you're right. There's going to be a couple of very good players sitting there that are going to get cut, and you're like, man. But it's just they're so deep at the defensive line that you're going to cut a good player, and some other teams are going to take advantage of it. Unfortunately, because we have so many there. I like our linebacking core there. The kid they brought over also for special teams from Green Bay. I think he'll be also Burks. He'll be utilized there as a linebacker. Our secondary.
He was drafted in the same round as Fred Warner.
He was.
And had a lot of similarities to Fred Warner as far as a safety turned linebacker. So it's going to be interesting to see how he develops with this coaching staff, which does an excellent job developing linebackers.
Yeah, this kid, and I couldn't think of his name. Thank you, Robert Davis. And how you doing, sir? Welcome to the channel. I seen you in the chat. I haven't had a chance to say hi. Tay Martin, the practice squad most likely, yeah. And I think he still has a little bit of development to go. But I like this kid. I don't know if you've seen him in college or you've seen his play, but this kid is pretty good. Great hands. It's a hard fight for him to make the team. There's no way he's going to make the roster just because of all the receivers that we have. But this kid, man, hopefully, I know they're going to cut him. I hope that nobody picks him up and he makes it to our practice squad, because I would love to have him there. But I can see Seattle just sitting there like a dog with a bone waiting for a player to be dropped. And this is a lot of times, this is why. But some people don't care. Like, who cares about Jimmy? But I think this is one of the reasons why they didn't. There's no reason to cut Jimmy. And I'm not going to start on the Jimmy situation, but there's no reason to cut him now or then, because you don't want Seattle to pick him up and utilize him. Why not keep him? It doesn't cost us anything to keep him until week one. Before week one, we have to cut him so we can get that money. But we don't owe him no money unless he plays week one. So
we actually owe him if we cut him right now, because he won't pass a physical. So you're going to have to pay him $7.
I forgot about that. He has to clear the physical. Yeah, I think that's one of the things they're waiting. And I think they may move him, maybe not for a draft pick that people think they're going to get from him, but there's chances that they could move him. But at the end of the day, I believe they'll cut him. I know Jimmy has done a lot for us, but I just can't see a player like Jimmy, who was a starter for us for a couple years, with the relationship that he has with players, just being in that locker room. Even if Jimmy doesn't try to be a distraction, because he's a pretty cool dude and he's very respectful, but I think he will be, because Trey's always going to be looking over his shoulder, like, man, if I mess up, if I our players are going to be wanting Jimmy to come in, and I think that's going to be more of a distraction for Trey, even if Jimmy doesn't do it on himself. So I think Jimmy will be traded or cut, just for the fact that they got to let Trey know this is your team, good or bad, sink or swim. No matter, we're going to win with you or we're going to pick high in the draft with you. I know one team that is not rooting for Trey to be good is the Miami Dolphins. They want, because they want that extra first to be a high pick. Hopefully, it'll be like 2020, where 2022, excuse me, where it was a low a pick. So as we coming close to the show, man, and I can say the one thing about me, I love to talk, bro. My uncle,
man, I got no restrictions, so if you want to keep going, we can.
Oh, go. Right on. My uncle used to, my uncle, God rest his soul, he told me that I could talk the ears off a wooden Indian. I have the gift of jab, bro. I can talk. I'm telling you, my wife will go into the store and I'll be chopping it up with somebody outside talking about football or whatever and sports or something. And my wife's like, "Oh, is that our old friend that you meet up with?" I go, "No, I just bumped into him right now." He's like, "You're talking to him like you knew him, but that's who I am." I never, I get along with everybody. I give everybody their respect. I never mag dog nobody. I'm never trying to impress no one. It's just, I love to talk. So, and like I said, this channel, even if I have one, we have quite a few viewers, but even if I had one or two viewers, I would be satisfied, because, it's just that gift. So if you have nowhere to go, we can continue on. If you do, let me know, bro, because I do not want to keep you any longer than I have to.
Let's keep it going, man. I'm having fun.
And okay, and then there's another brother right here, Luis Moreno. Kind of like Big Papa. Do me a favor, brother. Send me an email. Send me an email to ninersicknesspodcast@gmail.com. ninersicknesspodcast@gmail.com, so that I can get that mask to you. I understand you mentioned it before, where you want me to just give one to the ladies and the viewers. I'm gonna do that anyway, but because your generosity and your heart is so big, I'm still gonna give you your mask, and I'm gonna give another mask to the ladies from your request. So send me that email, bro, so that I can get this mask to you. It's been sitting on my desk like forever. Got this little nice mask that it's with. It comes with filters. I know people are not really wearing masks anymore. I still do. I'm not a person that gets vaccinated, so I wear my mask, and I enjoy them anyway. But now it's kind of fading away. But send me your information so I can get it to you, brother. Welcome to the channel, by the way. So let me ask you. We'll freestyle a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Let's move to the defense a little bit. Where's an area? I mean, it's kind of a dumb question. I'll say, where's the area of strength? We know there's a defensive line, but who do you think will step up to take over that D4 style of play for us this year?
I think it's going to be by committee, but though I don't think it's going to be necessarily one player. Obviously, I think it's going to be a three-headed monster with Amenahu, Ebicom, and Jordan Willis. So Jordan Willis is actually somebody, I don't know if you've caught some of my streams, but that's somebody that I believe is going to have kind of like that like breakout year that could have the possibility to have 6 to 8 sacks this season. And I believe that he's going to be the guy that, is showcased or has the opportunity to showcase himself this year and then make some big money next year. Another guy, Amenahu, but they also got, I forget the name, the guy.
Jamaica Toure from the Colts?
Toure, yeah, exactly. Toure is obviously somebody who's, shown that ability. So,
Yes, I
I think
like him.
is going to be by committee. I don't know if you're going to have just this one player. I think the 49ers are just going to play whoever's hot, right? Whether it's Torrey, whether it's Ebicom, whether it's Willis, whether it's Amenahu, if all of them make the team, any of those
Yeah.
guys could not make the team because of how much depth they have there. But I think that a lot of people think is going to be Drake right away. I think Drake has obviously a lot of upside. He's still very raw as far as pass rushing. He doesn't have very many moves. He just has the speed. So I think that they're going to maybe redshirt him, develop him a little bit, give him some more time to really work on his moves, so that he has more than just the speed. And a couple years down the line, he's definitely going to be that guy that slots next to Bosa. But as of next year, I think it's going to be by committee: Torrey, Ebicom, Amenahu, Willis, based off of who's on the roster or makes the 53-man roster.
Yeah, and they brought back a Kerry Hyder. Although
I don't think he makes the team.
I agree with you. I think and if he would have made the team, I think he's better suited to play inside than outside. I think they played him outside in 2020 out of necessity because of the we were dropping like flies. But I agree. I don't think out of all I don't think him and Mr. I keep forgetting his name. Kevin Givens. I think Kevin Givens may, with the addition of Ridgeway that we brought in, I think
Hurst is healthy, so
Maurice Hurst is healthy now.
Yeah, so
There's
a lot. I mean, there's just so much depth, man. And I think the fear for the 49ers, and it's just a reality, they can't keep everybody that they have. Like, there's more than 11 players. Like, even if they keep 11, there's still 3 or 4 really good players that are going to be there, and they're not going to make it to the practice squad. Like, other teams are going to pick them up just because they're that talented, and they come from people know 49ers defensive line, you're going to get productive players out of it.
Yeah, the only one that might make it to the practice squad will be Kerry Hyder, because there's no way Seattle's going to pick him up.
Right.
They let him go. So but if they drop anyone else, I like Charlie Amenahu. I know he's taking a little bit for him to get there. I like him a lot. Let me ask you, if other defenders play better than Samson Ickingham, and they're getting more production out of them based on the money they can save by cutting him, do you think he might be a casualty because of the money?
Could be, absolutely. I mean, if they feel like he's not separating himself more than the $6 million that they owe him, yeah, he absolutely could. I mean, he came on, to full credit for him, he came on the second half of last season and really
sure did.
Played well, and he does have a speed aspect, but there's a lot of decisions there. It's a good situation to be in, Beto, because you're kind of like abundance of riches.
Yes.
It's not like you're desperate. It's more just you're operating from a position of strength. So it would be tough to lose a guy like Ebicom, because I do think he's an impactful player. But it is a business at the end of the day, and if you're getting the same or similar type of production out of a Torrey, a Amenahu, and a Willis, and you have Drake in the back in the back as well, that are much cheaper than what you're paying Ebicom, that could easily be a cap casualty, because they can't keep all of those players. One, and two, you actually save money from cutting.
I think what did they say about 6?
6 million. Yep,
Yeah.
6 million.
That's a lot.
6 million, and they could roll it into next year, right? That's what the whole thing with Jimmy as well. So, or they could work it that can help them do the extension with Debo, or whomever else in the future.
Bosa next year, yeah, definitely. So yeah, I think I did like the way he did. When he first came in the beginning, I wasn't like because the kid that I wanted was I guess he went to Philly now. He was with the Panthers for 1 year. He left Arizona. What was his name?
Reddick.
Yes, that kid, man. I would have.
He's really good.
I rather would have had him. He would have cost us a little bit, not that much more than what we paid for Samson for that 1 year. But I don't know if we would have been able to keep him, because, like the Panthers, they didn't pay him because they asked he was worth more money. So that's a hard one. But Sanson did come up towards the end of the year, and he did kind of play better, and he is explosive. I like that, but 6 million, you're going to have to separate yourself away from the other guys in order to be there. Because if you're playing just as good as them, that 6 million could make you the odd man out. So we'll see what happens. What are your thoughts, real quick, on the linebacking core? We have Fred Warner, that we know he's the second best. I think he's the best middle linebacker, but the kid over there with the Colts might have something to say about it. But he's, if anything, he's the second best. He's definitely the best in the West. You have Aziz, and then you have Greenlaw. I don't think we're going to be able to keep, and I know this is for next year, but I don't think we're going to be able to keep both of them next year. And I know a lot of us are going to determine what they're going to do this year. But which of those two players would you rather, let's say they both play very well, which of those two players would you rather keep, and which one would you be willing to move on from?
I think Aziz is going to be cheaper, so you probably move on from Dre Greenlaw.
Okay.
But, that's another position of strength that the 49ers have just because they do such a good job developing linebackers, right? So they
Yes, they
have,
do.
they already brought in Oren Burks from Green Bay, who is somebody who's extremely athletic, very similar to Fred Warner, who now could be developed under, D'Amico Ryans and the rest of the defensive coaches. And he might be somebody who plays a big role, right? People don't realize Aziz Al-Shaair was an undrafted
Yes.
rookie when they brought him in, and then they put a second round tender. So when you're getting that type of return on your investment, taking an undrafted rookie and then feeling like you could have gotten a second round draft pick out of him, that's like really really good return. So I think a guy like Oren Burks can be somebody who allows for a guy like Dre Greenlaw to get traded, or if he just walks, hopefully you get a compensatory pick out of him. But the linebackers, defensive linemen, Beto, I'm never worried about because the 40 and running backs, never really worried about because the 49ers just have a really good machine there as far as finding the right type of guys without using a lot of high level assets, and then being able to develop them and constantly have that wheel kind of turning.
Yeah, exactly, bro. I like our linebacking core, and then the secondary. Just the fact that we have all these corners. I mean, I believe we have nine there, which is very deep and something fun to watch. And I love that Jason Verrett did sign another year. I understand that his payday wasn't there again because he got hurt, and uh, he is known to be a player that gets hurt a lot. Um, Hopefully, he'll have a 2020 type of season. Now, the good thing is, I don't think we need to use him or depend on him like we did in 2020. And looking forward to, I think, with the addition of Ward and having Mosley there, we can just kind of bring in and sprinkle a Jason Verrett. But I would love to see, if Jason Verrett can play and stay healthy, I would love to see Jason Verrett and Ward on the outside and see Mosley on the inside and be that slot corner. I think he plays well there. But one of the kids that I'm very intrigued about, bro, is Samuel Womack. I
Mm-hmm.
like this kid. I think this kid will make the team. I think this kid is people want to right away because of his height and size. That he's a K1 Williams. I don't really see him like a K1 Williams, but I do see him as a good slot corner. Do you know anything about him or deep about him? Have you seen him in college? What are your thoughts of Samuel Womack from your perspective?
Another press man cover corner, right? He may move into the nickel this year, but I think that it's once again what we were talking about earlier in the episode, Beto. The 49ers are just so good right now. They're in this flow of being able to find these guys that are going to play big roles and give them a lot of leeway moving forward in contract negotiations, because this is the last year of Emmanuel Mosley's contract. And more than likely, he's outplayed his contract to where he's going to be looking for that
Yeah.
double digit kind of play, like 10 million a year type of pay structure that the 49ers just can't afford for a guy like Emmanuel Mosley. Well, what have they done? They got a guy like Ambry Thomas who can already, be slotted in, maybe even compete with Emmanuel Mosley for that second corner next to Travarius Ward. And then they got a guy, Samuel Womack, that can easily come in and either be a depth piece behind Ambry Thomas and Travarius Ward, or, fight for a starting role if he can, beat Ambry Thomas in that position. So they're doing just such a great job of bringing in these young guys, and you could see kind of the mentality of what they're looking for out of their corners is more the press man. And the reason for that, Beto, is the only way to neutralize the 49ers' strength, which is obviously their defensive line, is getting the ball out quick. So you can't really defend that by playing zone. And unfortunately, with the corners that the 49ers have had in the past, they just weren't capable of sticking to a guy long enough to play press man, really. So they had to play zone, but the zone then opens up that space so that you could get the ball out really quick on slants and, different plays, which neutralizes the defensive line's ability to get to the quarterback. Well, now that they're just only drafting and bringing in press cover guys, whether it be Travarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley's great at that, Ambry Thomas is great at that, Samuel Womack is at that, Jason Verrett, we all know is great at that. So why are they doing that? Well, now they could put these guys up press man, which forces the quarterback to hold the ball an extra second or two. Now all of a sudden you can't neutralize the defensive line because you don't have open receivers. So that's kind of what I'm looking at as far as how the 49ers are kind of combating what has been their Achilles heel, which is good quarterbacks getting the ball out quick. Now we have cornerbacks that can actually compete to make sure that doesn't happen.
Zach, give me a second, bro. I'm going to stand up for a minute.
Sure.
I got to let the table move up. My back awesome, is. Bro. I got the table that goes up and down because with my back, bro, I gotta, I'm a disabled, hurt my back. I don't know if you knew, if you ever heard of me, but I was paralyzed for 10 years.
Really?
Yeah, I was paralyzed. I couldn't move anything from my waist down. Doctors told me I would never walk again. And I actually, because of the severity of my accident, they actually lost me on the operating table. They pronounced me dead. And about 4 minutes later, I decided to come back. And but I was paralyzed for 10 years. I couldn't do anything from my waist down. They told me my spine, until this day, bro, no lie. A lot of times I tell people are kind of, it's hard to believe, so they'll humor me. But especially when I go to get an MRI from technicians that don't know me, and I tell them one thing, but when they see it for themselves, it's a whole different story. My spine is actually disconnected.
Yikes!
It's disconnected right now because of the fracture that I had when I had the accident. The signal is not. There should be no signal from my brain to my lower extremities, so I shouldn't be able to move or walk or stand. But by the grace of God, and prayers and support of family, 10 years later, I started to get a little sensation. I started getting a little feeling, and then I started to do the Forrest Gump. With the leg braces and the forearm crutches, and little by little I started to get rid of things. Now my problem was I gained a lot of weight during those 10 years. I must have put on at least 200 pounds.
Wow.
In that chair, bro. I went through a lot of depression. I went through a lot of kind of low points. Because you go from taking care of your family, you go from able to be mobile and do whatever you need to do and handle your business, to now you have to be dependent. Now you can't do nothing. Now you have to I had to depend on my wife. This is why I tell people she's my queen, bro. And I'm not, I know I'm getting a little bit away from football, but I tell people she's my queen because the things that she did for me when I was in that situation, a lot of other women would have left, would have moved on. They're like, I didn't sign up for this. But she stuck it out. She was a trooper, bro. She supported me. She still does. Never looked down at me when I was in situations where there were embarrassing moments. She always tended to make me look like I'm still the man. I'm still the provider. And she gave me that confidence, man. Now that I'm able to do it again and take care of her, it's good. But for 10 years, bro, so a lot of times my back I still have the same issues, problems, spasms that someone in a chair does, but I'm just not in a chair anymore. So I'm able to walk. Now, sometimes my legs does stop. and I'll be walking and boom, there I go. My wife's like, "Oh, you hit the brakes again." I go, "Yeah, I hit the brakes." This is why I can drive. I have to give up my. And one of the hardest things for me, bro. I don't know if you love riding motorcycles or not, but I used to have a Harley. My preference was always riding a bike, bro. I didn't care about cars. My Harley everywhere, rain, shine, no matter. I wanted to ride my bike, and I can still ride. I still have my license, but because of my spasms, I can easily drop it.
Safe.
And my wife's like, "Listen, I already lost you for 10 years in a chair. Your ass does it again. I'm gone." So I'm like, okay, fair enough.
Right.
So and I don't blame her. She don't want to deal with that again. So, but that's one of the things that
I'm sure you don't want to deal with it again, Beto. Let's be honest.
Not that part. The missing the writing,
Right.
yes, but
Yeah.
and that's something that I had to give up. That is very, very hard for me to give up because something that I really, really enjoyed doing, man.
I
But
appreciate you sharing. I appreciate you sharing that story, man. That's amazing, and it's just so good to hear stories like that of people that persevered and made it through. And you just talking about your belief in God and having the family support, man. I love stories like that, Beto, because there's so much negativity in the world and so much, just you go through your Twitter timeline and it's just like people screaming at each other and everybody bringing up the negatives of things. It's really great to hear a story like that, man. And like I said, you have the fountain of youth, bro. You look much younger than your age, and just to hear you that you're you're a warrior when it comes to just fighting for yourself. Great story, bro. Thanks for sharing.
I appreciate it. You have to be positive in a negative world, man. There's so many people with negativity. There's so many people out there hurting other people, doing things that are despicable, things that make you ask you why with this. But my faith has kept me balanced. My family. I love to encourage people. I'm a very happy going person. People are like, man, but you're still in pain. Because right now, bro, I'm talking to you. I'm having a good time talking and we're enjoying. But I feel like somebody's hitting me with a bat. Yikes. So imagine you're talking to me and somebody just pa. But that pain is there. And I don't really like to take the narcotics that they give me from the hospital because the pharmaceuticals, they don't want to fix your problem. They just want to add they just want to give you medication for the money. And I try not to I do take some strong medicine, but I try not to take it as much, so I endure the pain more. But I'm always still smiling. People are like, wow, how can you smile? Listen, people don't realize how much they take for granted the ability to get up and walk. Mm-hmm. The ability to, if you're walking to a location where there's stairs, right? You can be on your phone. You can be talking to your friend. You don't even pay attention to the stairs. You just walk up because you're able to do it. When you lose the ability to go upstairs, now you have to find an alternative. You have to find, okay, there were places that I went to thousands of times, bro. And when I landed in my chair, myself or my wife had to call and see if they were accessible to wheelchair. And I've been to these places millions, 1,000 times, and
you never think about it, like you said.
We don't. You take it for granted. Yeah. You wake up in the morning, you get up, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, take a shower, get ready for work, and you move on. When you lose that ability, when you're not able to transfer out of your bed, you need a board to transfer from your bed to your wheelchair. You got to drag your legs because your legs are dead. It's a humbling process. It taught me how to humble myself. It taught me to appreciate life more. And this is why when I see people fight or argue for the smallest things, I'm like, listen, I'm not trying to undermine what you're going through. I'm not trying to be disrespectful in your situation. But I always say, choose your battles. Choose your battles. Does that fight really worth the outcome that it can happen, especially between spouses or a family or a child? I tell them, listen, choose your battles, be wise. Sometimes, like even with my wife, even if she's wrong and I'm right and I can prove that I'm right, I ask myself, is it worth it? Me proving me that I'm right with her being angry, or do I rather sit on the couch holding my arm around her and watching a movie? And I ask myself, what's more important? Proving my point or being on the couch with her happy? Sometimes that's better than proving my point. So I decided I'll take the loss, even though I could have won, and I choose my
Right.
battles. And I tell people, there's so many things in life that already stresses us out that we have no control over. Try to be easier on yourself on the things you can control. If your bill's late, you got to pay. But you know what? It is what it is. If you're running a little bit late for work, I've seen people stress out, bro. 10 minutes. Oh my God. I'm like, listen, you'll get there when you get there. You're supposed to get up earlier anyway, but if you're late, you're late. I try not to stress out for the things that I used to stress out before. Being paralyzed for 10 years taught me how to see things from a different set of lenses. I don't see things the way I used to. The things that used to worry me and bother me before don't bother me anymore. I'm
So let
like,
me ask you. Let me ask you two follow up questions. So one, how's your stamina right now? Like as far as the length of time that you could be up on your feet, how far can you walk, stuff like that. And the second thing I want you to answer is, can you walk me through that moment where you started feeling sensations back in your leg, and the moment that you heard from the doctor, or however it came about, that you are going to be able to walk again?
um, okay. First question is, like right now, I'm about to ready to sit back down. But because I'm in one spot,
Hmm.
if I was able to walk around, I can probably do that a bit better. My walking ability, I mean, I can go into a grocery store or go into Costco. As long as I'm holding on to the basket, I can pretty much walk around. But I have what you call not forearm crutches. It's like what do they call it? A walker with a seat, where
Okay,
I
yeah, I
walk
know
and
what
I,
you're talking
I
about.
hold on to the walker, right? And then if I have to sit, I just turn it around and I sit on the walker.
Got you.
And,
Okay.
and I'm able, because what it is just kind of like, it's funny. I have to reboot. Kind of the best way I tell people, the best way I can tell you is, I sit. I'm walking for a minute. Like say I'm walking for 20, 25 minutes. Then if I sit, even if I sit for 2 or 3 minutes, it gives me the energy to walk for another 20 minutes.
Makes sense.
So
Yeah.
so it kind of, I have to kind of build that up. Otherwise, my leg. What happens is my leg starts spasming, which it starts shaking.
Uh huh.
And then I start, doing the shaking. People are like, "You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, it's just spasms." As soon as I sit down, it'll go away. And to your question about the ability to walk, I was sitting I was sitting watching TV, and mind you, for 10 years I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't do anything. They were just dead. You can stab, you can stab my leg, and I wouldn't feel it. Now,
Wow.
keep this in mind. I can't feel the floor. I
Even to
still,
this day.
and to this day, I don't have sensation. I know that I'm standing. I know the
Uh huh.
floor is up, but it's like I'm so used to it now because I've done it for years. But in the beginning, it's like trying to walk on air. How when
Wow.
you walk, you press and you feel the floor.
Yeah.
I couldn't feel that. So, and I still can't.
Does it feel numb, like tingling
Just,
sensation, or
no,
you
I
don't
just
even
don't feel
feel
nothing.
tingling? Oh
No,
wow.
I
Okay.
just don't feel nothing. Like, like if I didn't have no feet, I know I have them, but it's like if people try to tickle me, that don't work no more. So, but I've learned to do that. But I was sitting down and my leg moved. So, and then I thought maybe it's a spasm, right?
Uh-huh.
Spasms tends to move your legs or whatever part of your body, but it's just a spasm. It's a reaction, a muscle reaction, not necessarily you moving it. So
Uh-huh.
when it moved, I'm like, okay, it's a spasm.
Have you ever had those spasms before, or was this the first time?
No, I had them before,
Oh, okay.
but not at where my leg actually moved like that. Now what I did was I'm like, all right, let me see if I can do it myself. And when I was able to move my leg, it moved based on
Wow.
my, like when you want to move, you like if I pick up my
Yeah.
arms, they move up, right? So it moved, and that got me curious. I'm like, whoa, okay. But I still couldn't stand up, so that took a few months, and then there was a time where I was able to actually stand up for about, I don't know, a few seconds, and I had to fall back on the chair, and that's something that I never did before because at that point, I don't know if people don't realize that 10 years is a long time. But even
Yeah.
if you don't
You
walk for
lose all the
six,
muscle. You lose all
yes,
the muscles and stuff like
if you
that.
don't walk for 6 months or more, you kind of have to relearn how to walk again
Hmm.
because your strength is gone. You got to develop that strength. So people think, oh, you can just jump, and you can't. And the fact that I was able to stand up, and at that point, I have gained more weight being in the chair than when. Cause believe it or not, when I was before my injury, I was weighing about 185, 190.
Wow.
I'm a little bit over 300 right now, bro. And it's harder for me to lose my weight because my mobility. It's not.
Right.
Although I have lost some weight because I really have to shut the beak late at night, and I've learned I discipline myself to do that. But I my leg move. I stood up for a little bit. I told my doctor. My doctor was like, "Yeah, that's." I'm talking. They were not not just my doctors, but any doctors, because of the way my spine is disconnected. They're like, "You're not gonna walk. That's okay. I'm happy that you stood up, but that's it. You're not gonna walk." So I'm like, "Wow, thank you for the
Right, so
encouragement."
sorry to cut you off, but you're doing all of this stuff. Was it in the environment of like physical therapy or anything
Yes,
like that, or you're doing this all on your own?
a little bit of physical therapy, but it was
Like the
most
first time you stood up, was that with?
well, on my own. On my own.
So
By
you're
that,
just doing this in your house?
yes. By that
Oh wow.
time, because insurance only pays for so long,
Right.
and they have to cut.
What's your wife saying when she sees you stand up for like a second or two?
She was started crying because
Wow.
if anybody went, people don't realize that I went through the physical part of it, but she went through the emotional part of it.
Right.
She went through the emotional part of it. Okay, no worries, babe. She went through the physical part of it, dealing with my pain, my anger. I'm gonna admit that for a year or two, I was the worst SOB towards her. I took a lot of my anger on her, my frustration, and she's a trooper, man. She decided to chuck that stupidity that I was doing under the belt of my condition, not being it was me, which is not really me, but it was still me doing it. You know what I mean? Like, but
Right.
she was able to
She
separate
understood
them.
the reason.
Yeah, she didn't take it personal. She was able to separate it. So, like I said, I got blessed with her. But when I finally decided to move, bro, and walk, is I was watching TV and I was watching a Christian show, and I heard a voice. A lot of people think it's just in my head, but it is what it. I heard a voice clearly as you and I are talking. Like I have you in my ears with my headset on, and I heard God say, "Walk," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah, all right, yeah." He goes, "Just walk out of the room." Like, this is like 10 years already in, bro. That
Uh-huh.
I barely stand up. My legs, my hands would be shaking when I stand up. Just to be able to stand up like the way I'm doing right now, I would be shaking, and I would have to hold on to the hands of the wheelchair. And he's like, "Walk," and I'm like, "Okay, I must be really desperate, man. I must be really." I'm talking to myself, right? So I'm like, whatever. I ignored it. Starting to watch TV again. It got a little louder. Get up and walk. And I'm like, whatever. It got to the point where where I got annoyed. I got so annoyed by hearing this voice. And my wife's like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "No, just myself." And I stood up and I walked right out of the room.
Wow.
I never had to relearn how to walk again. This is after 10 years, brother. Not 10 months, not 5 weeks, 10 years. And I just got up. And mind you, I added about 200 pounds
Right.
to my body that my body was never used to holding up prior to going down. And I
Can you
walked right.
tell me what that feeling was for you, and then tell me the emotions of your wife at that moment? Was she able to see it? She
Oh
saw you
yeah,
walk
yeah. I
out.
watched. She was cooking, and
Okay.
I walked up there and I'm like, "Hey, she talk about seeing a ghost. Imagine losing someone that passed away, and if they stopped and said hello,
Right.
that type of reaction." She's like, because she understood my situation. She's like, and she's very the thing with her, she cries for everything. But that's one of her ways of letting her emotions out. When she
Right.
saw me, she first was a state of shock, which is normal, and then comes the tears of gratitude of, "Oh my God!" And I'm like, and I was able, and I walked around, but I still needed the forearm crutches just to sustain myself for longer, and I used that for about 6 months until I got rid of it. But it was the voice in my head, which told me to get up and walk, and people tell me it probably was just you. I go, why would I do that, knowing that I
Right.
can't walk? You know what I mean? Knowing that I
And
can't, I
being
know I
told
can't
that you're
fly, so I'm
never
not.
going, being told that you're never ever going to, like, what
And
gave
my
you?
spine is
Well, why would you?
separated exactly.
Yeah.
Like if I heard, just imagine somebody tells me go up go up in your roof and just throw yourself off because you can fly. Yeah, I'll be like, yeah, right. Yeah, I don't think so. You know what I mean? It's just
Right.
if you heard that, you're probably like, yeah, no, I'm staying right here. You know
Right.
what I mean? It's just something you don't do. But I just
How
got
did
up
you
and
feel in that moment, man? You seem so nonchalant about it. How long ago was this, and how
this
did you
is
feel in that moment?
this is about a good 15 years now
Oh wow. Okay.
that it happened. Good, yeah, about 15 years, a little bit close
Do
to
you
that.
remember what you were feeling in that moment when you were able to walk up to your wife cooking?
I I I was just she was shocked. I was excited. I was ecstatic. I was like,
Right.
I was. I guess that was my shock. Just that I was able to do that. Now, keep in mind, I did hold on to the wall, but I mean,
Right.
10 years
Oh,
still.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Please.
I still went there on my own. You know what I mean? So even if I
Right.
held on to the wall, it just doesn't happen. And then when I went to the doctor, and did it, he was now talk about being shocked. He looked at me and he was like, he told me, he goes, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in God, but you might have changed my thought process in that
Wow.
because you should not be walking medically. With the proof that I see an MRI, the way your body is structured, the ability that you haven't walked for so long, you should not be walking. There's just no explanation that is naturally can be explained about walking. So I tell people, you have to have faith in something, man. You have to believe that there's a higher power. There's a God out there, whether you believe it or not. We didn't come from apes. You know what I mean? We came from somewhere. So I'm very open about me being a Christian. I'm always speaking about God on my channel a lot, but I don't impose on it on anybody. I don't force it on no one. Everybody has to have their own experience. That's the way I was in the world. But when I did drugs, I never went out and here, do it with me. I'm like, if you do it, you do it. If you don't, you don't.
Right.
I was always about exploring myself. And so, but that's what happened, brother. In a nutshell, that's what happened. And I've been walking since. And now I'm able to drive. And then for a while, I had to drive with forearm crutches. I don't know if you ever, I mean, not forearm crutches.
The paddles.
Yeah, it's like a handle that
Yeah.
hooks up to
Instead
the.
of pressing down on the gas and
You
stuff,
do it with
right?
your hand. Yeah, you brake
Right.
with your hand. And you give gas with your hand. I had to do that for about a year, and because even though I can move my legs, my reaction wasn't fast. So like if somebody cut me off, I wouldn't be able to move my like you would do right now, and which I can do now. Now I use my feet like normally, and if somebody cuts me off, my leg automatically goes to the brake. You know, like what you do, you hit the brake and your whole body
Yeah.
goes forward.
Yep.
I do that. It's a reaction, but I couldn't do that for a year. So to be safe, I had to use the hand control. That's what they're called, hand controls, because I didn't want to hit nobody and be liable. You know what I mean?
Right.
Especially in my condition. So I had to be smart about it. But and then for a while, I drove with my feet, but I still had those hand controls, kind of like a backup. Like I would do things with my legs, but I would have my hand on the thing in case there was a slow reaction with my leg. I can use my hand. But it came to the point with my feet, just like you would do it right now, react. That's my legs do the same, so that I can move it quick. So I got rid of the hand controls. I blessed somebody because they're expensive. I blessed someone that needed them, and that person was ecstatic. And like I said, bro, I love giving people things. I love putting smile on people's faces. The things that I used to concern myself with or let things bother me, bro, they don't bother me anymore. Putting other people before me, like, and I'm gonna share this real quick, and I'm gonna close it down because it's been a while. Kathy Sanchez, for example. Kathy Sanchez, she's 73 years old. She takes care of 2 kids that have Huntington disease. They're adults, but they can't function very well, and she's open with this, so she don't mind me sharing. Kathy works 2 jobs to support, so she needs to have some teeth work done, but she can't afford to pay her copayment. What I'm going to be doing, not necessarily on this show, I'm going to do another show for it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to be giving away a jersey, and I'm going to do a raffle for a jersey and a flag. And I'm probably going to charge like $5 or five, or I don't know if it's 5 or 10 a spot, but all the money that I collect is going to be towards giving it to her so that she can have this procedure done, because she doesn't have the finances to do it. And this is how we take care of each other within the podcast. And, so I have an extra jersey and a brand new jersey and a flag, and I'm just going to put it together and collect money. And then that way people that give, they don't feel like they're just giving it for free. They have a chance to win a jersey and a flag.
Yeah, let me know when you do that, Beto. I'll help promote that and give it to all my guys in the community as well to help promote. That's a very noble cause, man. I'd love to help out in any way I can.
I appreciate that, and I'm going to do it and let them know. And when I do it, I'm going to do everything live. People are going to see everything because I want to make sure everybody feels that nobody got screwed or nobody's getting. Because when it comes to money, I don't do this very often. Matter of fact, I don't do it at all on my channel. But she mentioned this, and it just, my heart just kind of like my wife says, when you feel something, you just gotta kind of go roll with it. And so I'm gonna help her. I'm on disability, bro. And if people ever make money from disability, it's not, the government don't pay you nothing. So, but you know what? I have a roof over my head. I have my wife that loves me. I have animals that my dog that loves me. I'm blessed. Do I have all the extra things? No, but I have 2 cars. A lot of people don't even have that. So I look at my blessings, bro, and I really appreciate what I have. And I'm really grateful for the little things that I have, because even though I'm in a lot of pain and even though I'm in a bad situation, there's always somebody worse out there than me, going through something harder than what I'm going through. So how can I be selfish and complain and murmur about what I'm going through when someone out there may have no ear? Maybe somebody can't see, somebody can't hear. I couldn't imagine not able to see. As much as I love football, right. Or not listen or not hear the game. You know what I mean? So the ability that I can do both of those and watch my football and talk like with you right now, that to me is riches. Rich, something simple, but I'm rich. And like all the equipment that I have, bro, check this out. People already know this. I had a funky little mic, the camera off of my Mac. All my equipment, if you add it up, and this is not me boasting about what I have, but it's probably around the $7,000 mark with all the equipment. It was all donated. It was all donated by one individual that I have never met. He found it, and he loved what I did, and he just wanted to bless me. He bought me He bought me the road. He bought me the computer. He bought me the screens. He bought me the light. The lights alone. Bought me 3 of them, and they're $200 a piece because they're Algado lights. And he paid for everything. He's in a situation where he owns property and he makes, money's not something that hurts him. But still, he doesn't know me. Even if he makes good money, he don't have to give me nothing. You know what I mean?
Right.
I never asked for it, but he blessed me with it, and I'm able to enjoy what I do because of him. And to me, that's just God. I give him credit because it was him, but I believe it's just God using him to bless me, knowing that I couldn't afford it, but he knows that I like to do this because this is therapy for me. And those are the things that happen when you're positive. So if anything, as we come to a close, because we have been here for a while, bro, and I appreciate you. Almost 2 hours. I always tell people, stay positive, remain positive. Yes, things happen. Yes, life gets hard, and you go through things. And I'm not undermining anything that people go through, because there are some really bad things out there that people are going through. But there's also a positive way to look at things. Everything's about perspective. Even if you're going through the hardest time of your life, if you have a better attitude, because you can't change what you're going through at the moment, but you can change how you think about it. You can't change the circumstance, but you can change your perspective on how you see it. If you look at it as like, oh my God, I don't have no food, or I don't have no money, and you're always down, or you can look at it as like, hey, I mean, all I may have is beans and rice, but at least I'm eating. And you can actually enjoy that and be without the steak because your perspective is different. Other than I'm tired of eating beans. I'm so tired of this. You know what I mean? And then you're down on yourself. You're still in the same predicament. Why not change your perspective? Now, I'm not saying it's easy. Definitely not saying it's easy. It's hard. But if you, like anything else, if you build a habit and you keep doing it, it'll help you out. So if anybody's watching this now or later, I don't know if you can tell, but I am sweating right now because and it's just of the pain. The pain is so severe that I'm sweating. So I am going to cut this low. It was an honor to have you. I never had a guest this long. So it's a record for us,
Nice,
bro. I appreciate you, bro. You're a wonderful man. I look forward to having you back. And if you ever want to invite me, I appreciate that, man. It's honest. Anything you want to say, before we go, do you want to go ahead and just give your website as I lower myself down and sit? Do you want to just let everybody know how they can get a hold of you?
Yeah, I mean, on YouTube, it's So Real Sports Talk TV. On Twitter, at So Real Suneil, SOREAL SUNEIL. Thank you so much, Beto. I mean, I know we the last hour or half hour or so had nothing to do with football, but I love stories like that. I'm a real positive guy as well. And this is my first time really getting to know you. So I apologize if the fans, wanted more 49er talk. But once you started telling me your story, man, I just love learning about that. And, I look forward to working with you very, very soon, man.
Likewise, brother. And real quick, Rudy, my brother, he's a Rams fan. He's from the Ramelia Sports Report. Big Rams fan like we are Niner fans. Great guy, though. I love this guy. He knows his football. He loves his Rams, and he reps them the way we rep the Niners, man. He had the better of us, unfortunately, at the end of the season. But I congratulate his Rams. Don't like his Rams, but I congratulate his Rams, and I congratulate him for winning another Super Bowl. Hopefully, this will be our year. Everyone watching and tuning in, I appreciate. Don't go anywhere. Real quick, I'm going to end the show, and I'll dismiss myself with you as well, Neil. But everyone, thank you for watching. Thank you for being part. Rudy, thank you for popping in, supporting my channel. Appreciate you, Ramelia Sports. Love you, brother. Everyone in the comments for staying here and watching. And like you said, the last half hour had nothing to do with football, but nobody left. Everybody stayed for that. So I appreciate Tommy coming in late. How you doing, Tommy? All right, guys, I am going to call it a night. Otherwise, we'll be here for another 2 hours, and I'm not going to do this to this man because he'll never come on my show again. Love you guys. We'll see you on the next podcast. Have a blessed night. And remember, Jesus loves you.